ate it with the panties on. Yes, I want it.
I'm here to say, too many designs today are less than a step away from the inspiration. A slight change here, a small tweak there, no time left on the clock. In the end, all those brands did was just build another Glock. We asked for more, but nobody answered the call. They just kept feeding us the same old shit. No texture, no optics, shitty trigger, and still that clock ticks. Ticking away, no time left to relay, while the time's slipping away. Then along comes a man, a small team in the plan, making mods for the classic. Then biding the time to work some magic. It's time to make their own name in this arena of plastic. With proper form and grip, with your forward thumbs, you'll feel the textures, the ledges, the quality of these guns. They seem familiar, but so much better. Welcome to the Shadow Systems. Talking about the Shadow Systems, creating modern legends. It needs to be fast, it needs to be smooth, it needs to be tough. Not another expensive gun to hide in the safe. The Texas made and founded by veterans. They all carry Glocks but wanted to make better ones. Mission success, standing above the rest. So if you want the best, put one to the test and rack up a high round count full of thrills. Scoop draw this bitch and do some build drills. With proper form and grip, with your forward thumbs, you'll feel the textures, the ledges, the quality of these guns. They seem familiar, but so much better. Welcome to the Shadow Systems.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jim, and I'm here to share with you another one of my absolute favorite carry guns. This is the Shadow Systems CR920. Now, I realize that now in 2024, there's the CR920X, the CR920P, the CR920XP. There have been evolutions beyond this one, but I gotta tell you, I have loved this, honestly, since before it came out. I was one of the lucky first few people to get my hands on one, and I absolutely love it. Fantastic little gun, a wonderful competition to the Glock 43. And that's really what this is. And it was confusing when it first came out, because when it came out, the Glock 43X was kind of the big thing at the time. The 43 had already kind of run its course. The 43X came out, and the P365 came out, and those pretty much made the Glock 43 obsolete. Who wanted a 6-shot gun when you could buy a 10, 11-shot gun, okay, 10 plus 1 in the SIG P365, or 10 plus 1 in the Glock 43X? I know I did that. I immediately bought a 43X MOS as soon as they were first available, and I had a beautifully customized Glock 43 that I loved, and a lot of time and love went into that gun, but honestly, it was obsolete. I didn't care about it at all as far as carry goes once the 43X came out. So this one was a little bit confusing. Now, I was one of the people that was constantly messaging and emailing Trevor, the CEO, the owner of Shadow Systems, begging for a 43 style gun, because I already had my MR920. It was already my absolute hands down favorite gun, and to this day is still one of the best guns I have ever owned. And I mean, I've had some crazy things, man. I've had amazing guns, and that is still one of the best. So all I could think of was, man, if they made a slimline, tiny version of the MR920, all my dreams would be fulfilled. So what you've got is the size of a 43. Let's take the magazine out, because that extra capacity magazine makes it look a little bigger than it is. So you have what is in essence the size of a 43 when you've got the flush fit magazine inside. But instead of being a 6-round G43, you've got a 10-round CR920. Now, my 10-round mag, I have the pinky extension on, so it's got just a little tiny bit more room, but that is, in essence, the size of a 43. A 43X would be closer to this size with the 13-round extended magazine inside. So now I've got 13 plus 1 in a 43X size. And you might be thinking, well, Jim, you already had a 43X MOS. Why didn't you just buy the Shield S15 mags and you'd have 15 plus 1 in this size? I did. And as much as I liked that gun, I never loved it. It was a really good gun, but the reliability with the S15 magazines was not fantastic. It wasn't the worst in the world, but I had too many hiccups when I took it to the range to confidently carry it and put my life on it. When this came in, this took the place of my super compact, micro compact needs. Now let's give you a direct size comparison against the SIG P365. Okay. So as far as length goes, we get them butt to butt. You see it is a hair longer. And I believe it's going to be just about the same height. So top of slide to top of slide. Now this, I also have an extended magazine in so that I have the 12-round magazine in here instead of the 10. So here's the 12-round SIG magazine compared to the 10-round with finger extension on the Shadow Systems. So very, very close to being the same size. As far as the thickness goes, they're extremely close. So for those of you that love the SIG P365, I know I sure do. I'll never disparage it. I think it's a fantastic gun. I own a few variations. I have that one, and I have the XL Spectre Comp. And I'm actually building this one out. Next time you see this, it will not be a P365 anymore. I've got a badass Shalotech flex frame with the thumb rest on the trigger guard. And then I've got the XL sized slide, Parker Machine Works barrel, Parker Machine Works comp, and I'm super excited about that. But I digress. This fills the role that little guy has always filled. And it's a lot more badass. You've got a lot more features. And tremendously more than the Glock has. Now, I'm sure that Shadow Systems doesn't want to always be directly compared to Glock, but you're always going to, as long as you're working off of the Glock model. That's just the way it is. But I'm also going to compare it to a few other things that I've got as well, just to give you an idea. If you're looking at a few different guns to have as a good carry gun, hopefully the options I'm going to give you here will show you a couple that you're already considering. Now, I went for a long time without even mounting the Optic on mine because the sights are so damn good on this gun. The front sight, fantastic. You've got that super bright day glow ring with the tritium tube in there for the night sight. And then you've got the blacked out rear. Fantastic sights, always enjoyed them, never a problem. It's just I've gotten so used to having red dots on all of my pistols that I went ahead and decided to put this one on here. This is the 507? I've got so many damn red dots, I'm forgetting. Yeah, 507K, this is the X2, so it's got the battery tray on the side. Good sighting system. And another good reason to do this is because of Shadow Systems' wonderful direct slide mount capabilities. These guys were one of the first. Basically, right after FN did it on the 509 Tactical, these guys did it. So that you don't need to use plates. It is a direct mount and there's a configuration for every major optic that's out there. So it doesn't matter what you're rocking, except, I mean, you can't put an acro on the CR920, it's just not compatible. But, yeah, you could put all the major sights on here. No plates, no messing around, and the screws are so long, they're almost to the very bottom of the slide, so they're extremely secure. You don't have to worry about them shearing off. The CR920 is filling the covert role, which is what CR stands for. CR920 is, in my opinion, a fantastic, tiny EDC for those times that you want something a bit more lightweight than the MR920 and prefer a slimmer package overall. And it's because of this gun that I have bought into so many others that fit that slim profile now, because I got so used to carrying this. When I bought my RX Delta Gen 2, I bought it because it's nice and slim at that 1 inch wide mark, or 1.05 inch. And another reason that I bought the PSA Dagger Mini C1, because very, very slim, and it's also got a full-length grip, so it gives me that same wonderful ease of carry inside the waistband. Now, with this one being the Elite, it has the fancy pants slide cuts. It's got the top serrations there for racking from the front and just doing that pinch grip instead of just using the side serrations. By the way, their serrations have always been wonderful. They work really, really well without being overly sharp. Now, I've had mine, like I said, since right about the time that they've launched, so I haven't even seen the Foundation series versions of this in person. They didn't exist when I got mine. Now, that's a great way to save money and still get the basics of what makes this gun so good. So just like the MR920, you've got that proprietary RDO system. You've got the frame texturing, which I love. They have perfected the polymer frame texturing. It's nice and sandpapery, but it's not so coarse or sharp that it's tearing up your skin when you're carrying, when it's up against your skin. And it's not snagging your t-shirt every time you move around, which kind of grabs your shirt and holds it there, which kind of shows people you're carrying something in your waistband. I hate that. So if you're using like Talon grips on some guns, you've experienced that before. You don't with this. This feels really good on the front, on the side panels, and yes, right where you're going to lock in here, you've got grip. So many companies, and I don't know why, will stop their stippling right about here because they think that you have to leave a smooth spot for somebody's thumb, and that's not where your thumb goes when you're single hand shooting anyway. So I'll never understand that. If anybody knows why companies do that, please put it down in the comments below, because I'm completely confused. The controls are easy to access. Definitely better than the Glock slide lock, slide release, for sure. As I mentioned on the MR920, you've got a great undercut here that's nice and smooth. You don't feel a seam cutting into your finger here. You've got the double undercut, so you've got this area right under here undercut, not severely. And then you have the little thumb ledge with more stippling there. So as you're coming up and you're forming your grip, your thumb, now you may have to train yourself to go a little bit more thumb forward than you typically do, but when you do, you've got that spot to actually help control your muzzle flip. I like that a lot. And over here, it's like a nice little memory spot for your index finger. When you feel that, you know you've got your finger in the right spot and it's nowhere near the trigger. The mag release is fantastic. Great size, not too small, not too big. Doesn't get hit by accident when you're carrying it. I believe it's reversible. Don't quote me on that because I really don't remember, but I think it is. Now, you're getting a match grade barrel on this gun. This was a source of contention when the guns first came out. They had an issue with reliability, and they had to change the geometry of the barrel hood. And once they replaced those, all of those issues went away. So if you remember this gun coming out and hearing a bunch of reviewers slamming it for being unreliable, just remember it was taken care of. It was fixed. You know, they're not like SIG where they go for months denying that there's a problem and then quietly start making evolutions that fix it in later models. They actually stopped and went, hey, customers, there's an issue with your gun. We will swap out your barrel for free. Just please send us your old... I don't even think you had to send in the old barrel, now that I think of it. But they made sure their customers knew, and they replaced all the barrels when they had the reports. So good on them for doing that. Now, they do have a recommended break-in period because of the match grade barrel. Now, that's familiar to those who shoot 1911s and similar guns that are precision fit, but this is a concept that's alien for those who only buy quote-unquote cheaper polymer guns like Glock and M&Ps. Those have sloppier tolerances, and they don't need for the parts to mate together and wear in because there's a little gap in between all of those parts. These parts are fitted very, very tightly. So, give a new Shadow 100, 200 rounds of break-in before carrying it. Personally, I've had exceptional luck with both of my Shadow systems, and I haven't had anything to worry about. Let's talk about the specs very quickly on this before we continue on. First off, these are only available in 9mm. They don't mess around with 40, thank God. And they aren't doing any weird exotic calibers. It is a striker-fired action. Your frame is textured polymer. The slide material, by the way, is 17.4 stainless steel. Now, that's kind of a big deal because most brands will use carbon steel for their slides. Why is that a big deal? Because carbon steel is highly corrosive. It's not highly corrosive, that's what an acid is. It's very easy to corrode. So, here, you're not just relying on the finishing coatings to protect the material. The material itself is stainless steel. It is a high degree of corrosion resistance all by itself. Your trigger pull is stated to be 4.5 to 5 pounds. Mine stock was right around that. It is now, it's not really any lighter, it's just a little tiny bit better because of the trigger that I chose to put in here. Barrel length is 3.41 inches. Yep, it's a little guy. Weight is 17.8 ounces. Your overall length is 6.37 inches. Your width, the thickness, the part you worry about when you're worried about what's going in your waistline, 1.05 inches. And your height with the flush mag, so from the flush mag up here to the top of the slide without an optic, you're looking at 4.27 inches. With this extended 13 rounder in there, you've got 4.79 inches. And again, your capacities are 10 plus 1 in all of the magazines. The only thing it changes is the base plate. You will get a flat base plate, a flush fitting base plate that's 10 plus 1. You'll get one extended base plate attached to a magazine. You don't have to put it on yourself. That is 13 plus 1. And then you can always order the pinky plate like I have, which is a lifesaver. Really do enjoy having that. Now, the magazines are proprietary. You cannot use Glock mags. You cannot use Shield Arms S15 mags. It is only the Shadow Systems mags. And if I recall, this was the very first model that they created their own proprietary magazine for. Prior to that, like with the MR920, they supplied PMags. This one, really good, solid metal mags. Now, being metal mags, that should make people pretty happy, I suppose. It's sturdy, it's tough, it's very easily drop free. There's no bulging or anything like that. Oh, this thing just feels so good in the hand. Now, I carry mine with the 13 round magazine, and I'm totally happy with the size and have zero printing issues. With the flush magazine, I had a little bit of an issue with only being a 2-finger hold, but when I use the pinky extension, I can cram my fingers in there and get a full grip. I'm totally fine with that for the times that I really need to bring that form factor down. I have that flexibility, like it's a Lego set. If I could carry a little bit bigger, then I do that. Now, if you're doing it like you're putting your gun in a restrictive kind of pouch or something, where it's got to be as tiny as possible, use the smallest magazine, and you've got a gun that literally disappears. And by the way, I did forget to mention this, but your guide rod here is a stainless steel guide rod, not cheap flimsy polymer. So that gives you a little bit of weight on the front of the pistol, which is always good to help reduce the muzzle flip just a little bit. And honestly, at this price point, you should be expecting a stainless steel guide rod instead of polymer. In this price tier, you should be getting the best of everything. Now, is it still snappy? You bet your ass it is. It's a tiny ass 3.41 inch barrel and a lightweight polymer frame. So what the hell kind of question is that? Of course it's snappy, but it's not as snappy as some others you might want to compare it against in the same size range. Again, going back to the example of the P365. The P365 is a little bit more jumpy. It's going to have more muzzle flip, and it's going to have a little bit more felt recoil in the palm of your hand because these are teeny tiny, very, very, very lightweight guns. And there's something about the stock P365 frame that just, because I think of just how skinny it is and how your hand's wrapping around it, that it doesn't feel as comfortable to shoot as this. So on mine, I have the Wilson Combat grip module, so it's flared out with palm swells, and it's a little bit wider this way, so it's a little bit thicker. So my hand isn't wrapping around like this, it's more like this. And I feel like I've got a good amount more control on it because of that. But this is less fun to shoot at the range than this. So if it came down to a defensive scenario, sure, it's a couple of shots, either one of these are fine. This one I feel I'm going to have better controlled follow-up shots. Therefore, I feel safer to carry it. Because you know what they say, every shot you fire has a lawyer attached to the bullet. If those follow-up shots are a little bit chaotic and you're not as accurate as you should be, you might strike an innocent individual that's somewhere else that you didn't expect to hit because you thought you were going to hit your target. So I'm a little more confident with this. I'm also more confident now that I have the Overwatch Precision trigger inside. Now, I had shot a comparison video. I hope I still have it in my archive. If I do, I'll throw it in here. But for right now, I'll just show you here what this trigger looks like. Very little take up, very short stroke, and I hit a very defined wall, pushing through a little bit of creep that's still there. It's still trying to act as a rolling break, and that's just the way Shadow systems are. Here's the reset. Not as short as I'd like it to be, but it's a lot more positive, very tactile, and very audible. It's got a nice crisp wall on there that I really enjoy that the Shadow systems did not have before. It was much more of a mushy rolling break, and I just was never a huge fan of it. Now here's the thing, that's when you're being picky when you're dry firing. But when you're actually out shooting it, their triggers don't bother me at all. They're perfectly fine. I don't notice being any slower with their triggers, with their reset or anything else. I don't see myself being any less accurate. but I like having a nicer, solid feeling trigger. Now, another size comparison, as I mentioned, I wanted to do a bit of a budget build. So I knew that I wanted to get one of the Palmetto State Armory Dagger Micros because I wanted to have a similar size to this. And then right as I was going to order it, because, you know, for a while there, you would go to order one that would sell out in minutes. You'd have to wait a week or two for them to restock, and then they would sell out again. When they put them back up at that particular time, it was the first time they uploaded the C1 slide. The C1 is essentially PSA's Glockified version of a SIG X Macro or a SIG Spectre comp. So it ends up being substantially longer than the CR920, so it's not a direct comparison. Now, I've also put that same exact trigger in this gun. Now, here's the funny thing. A lot of people bash the PSA Dagger triggers. The hinge trigger sucked, but the break was nice. The reset, okay. But once I put the... Once I put the replacement trigger in there, so crisp. So if you've ever looked at the Overwatch Precision triggers and thought, oh man, I need to get me one of those because they're really inexpensive, yeah, then you should because they're really good. Now, back to the subject at hand. Is this a good carry gun? Abso-friggin-lutely. I have enjoyed every moment that I've had with this gun, but it's about to leave the collection. Only because I want the CR920P. Now, I thought I wanted the CR920XP, which would be the full-length grip with the shorter slide and the integrated comp. But I've already got that size covered here. I've got that size covered also in my P365 XL Spectre comp, and it will soon be covered when I upconvert my standard P365. So I don't need 4 guns of almost identical dimensions. This would still end up having more features than all of them except for the flex frame, the Shalotech frame. So what I want is the standard CR920 size. It'll just be a tiny bit bigger with the comp. It'll have the nice short grip. So I've got, once again, that super small compact pistol. And then I've got their comp. Everyone that I've talked to that owns the P version says that their comp is more effective than almost everybody else's on the market. That's nuts, man. That's crazy. So yeah, if it's going to work out well, shit, yeah, that's what I want. So out of all the other guns that I have bought in the interim, nothing has kicked this out of the collection. The PSA wasn't better than this. My SIGs weren't better than this. The only reason I'm getting rid of this is to get another one, basically, with a fancy little addition to it. That's it. I need to get my hands on one immediately. Unfortunately, in my area, I can't find a single retailer that's stocking one. So I'm going to have to go on the nationwide hunt and order online, which is a real pain in the ass. But anyway, that's my thoughts on the CR920. If you've ever considered owning one and you don't want one of the compensated versions for some reason, and I totally get that, not everybody needs to have a friggin' compensated or ported pistol. Not saying that you do need one. But if you decided that's just not for you and you want the smallest form factor possible, grab a CR920. You will absolutely friggin' love it. Thank you guys for watching as always, and I'll see you on the next video.